Hi, welcome back. So for the next step in the process, I'm only going to show it to you on the regular face mask because the process is exactly the same for both. And you have now got your little pillar box. This is your welt pocket, and you're going to put your fingers in there. Remember, you've clipped your curves and your corners, and you're going to fish around, and you're going to pull the whole mask out through the hole you made. Okay, and you're also going to obviously turn this end bit as well. So your entire lining is now on the back and your front is now all neat and tidy. At this point, get yourself one of those bone tools that are in the drawers, or a pencil or something along those lines, and push your mask's pointy corners out as nicely as you can. So what I'm going to use is, because I can't find one right now, I'm going to just use this little screwdriver, and I'm going to push the corners out first, both sides, go along till I get to the other side, and I push the corner out. Don't use anything too sharp because you are in danger then of breaking your stitches and pushing it right through your mask, and you don't want that on your corners. Bear in mind that all these instructions work on any dressmaking. So when I tell you to clip a corner and things like that, that is a process that you do when you're making a dress, skirt, shirt, whatever it is. So now that I've done that, I'm going to use my fingers and the heat from my hands to just gently press my two layers. Make sure that none of the seams are stuck inside your mask. You just roll them so that the stitching is at the very outer edge. Repeat that on the other side. Roll them. Tell you what, this is where licking your fingers and rolling is the best tool ever. So that's what I'm going to do here. And if you want, you can take it over to your ironing board and you can iron it nice and flat. So I've got a little iron here, and I will iron the seams flat. So I'm tucking the lining towards the inside, and because I cut it a little smaller, it rolls much more easily towards the inside. So that's the only difference really. If you didn't cut it any smaller, it may create a bit more bulk on the inside of your mask. You know, it just might have a few folds on the inside, but really it's not going to be the end of the world. So there we go. We've now ironed that, and there is the top, which has got the bigger curve, the greater curve than the bottom. That's the nose piece. So you've got your basic mask ready. Next step is somewhere for your elastic. What we do is go to the right side, your lining up, and take each side of the earpiece, fold it over 1 centimeter or 2. If you're very large, or you're making this for somebody that's quite long in the face or has a very big face, then you want to make this a bit shorter so that they have more length. But quite frankly, these are already quite a good size, so you don't have to. I'm pinning that flap down, or clip it down with your clips, so that my pin is right along the seam. I want to be able to put the pin where I know I have to sew that seam. I repeat that on the other side. This time, be careful you don't sew your pocket closed, because that pocket is needed. So fold over about 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, depending, 1.5, depending on that. And then on the right side, just feel where your end of the seam is and put a pin in there so that it holds it down. And you can see now that's where I'm going to put my seam, and it'll catch that edge, and my pin indicates where I've got to turn. To make this easy, instead of just going across there to make a channel for your elastic and then a separate seam there. I've come up with a way to do an entire top stitch all the way around your fabric mask and at the same time do a nose wire as well. So we're going to do that all in one process now. So we take our mask nose side up. I have to find a nose wire, so I'll do that just now. The nose wires, let's say the nose wire, seriously, I'm not that organized, am I? Let's say the nose wire is 8 centimeters long. That means I want my channel for my nose wire to be about 8 centimeters long, 4 on each side. And if you want to, you can put a pin at the 4 centimeter mark, that side of the center line, or your nose in this case, and 4 centimeters or so along there. It's better for your channel, for your nose wire, to be longer than shorter, otherwise it will stick through. So I've got a mark now where my nose wire is going to go. So I'm going to start just here towards the center line of where my pin is. And I'm going to now top stitch that. So I'm going to try and get you a little closer to the machine. You may not see it exactly, but I will show it to you when we are done. Now we're going to start our top stitching, which can be a longer stitch length if you like. You can use a 3 or 2.5. We are going to go to where our pin is in the side seam, where the ear is, and you're going to stop in line with that pin. You're going to pivot, and then you're going to sew along a straight line parallel to your ear section or the outside, and create a channel for your elastic. I'm now repeating this all the way along the bottom or the chin part of my mask until I get to the pin on the other earpiece. I pivot. If you go all the way to the end, you will have to unpick it, because otherwise you won't have a channel for your elastic to go through. When you get to this section where your other pin is, just move it out of the way or remove it, and you can remark it in a bit. Now I'm back where I started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few stitches over my original mark. I'm going to put my needle in the down position and I'm going to turn. I'm now going to sew 1 centimeter towards the middle of the mask, or the bottom, actually, the bottom edge, the chin of the mask. About 1 centimeter, which gives you more than enough space for your wire, your nose wire, to go in. And then I'm pivoting and I'm going back in the opposite direction. So I will have 2 rows of stitching parallel to one another for my wire to go in. I stop where my 4 centimeter line was, or my pin, and I just back tack a few times to make sure my seam doesn't come out, and I am done. Clip off my threads. Clip as you go. You don't want to get to the end of your project and have a million pieces of string to cut off. So let me try and get this a bit closer for you. We started here. If I was wearing this mask, it's to the left of my nose. I started here. I went down. I stopped and I pivoted, leaving a nice big 1 centimeter channel for my nose wire. I go to the bottom, parallel to the outer edge, and I turn, and I went under the chin all the way around. This is top stitching. When I got to the opposite ear side, I stopped, pivoted, and parallel to my outer seam here, my fold, I then pivoted again, came along the top edge of my mask. I I went over my first few stitches. I put my needle in here. I turned and I went 90 degrees to, no, that's not, yes, it is 90 degrees. 90 degrees from my top stitching. I went down about 1 centimeter, and then I pivoted back on myself and I created a parallel line of stitching, and I stopped about 4 centimeters on the other side of the nose center line, and I back tacked to keep it secure, and you trim it off. So in one motion you have actually done the entire perimeter of your mask. You are now ready for the very last thing you have to do, which is insert your wire. Your wire, not your wire. You can do the wire anytime, but you need to insert your elastic. The only difference between the two masks is the elastic. For the normal fabric face mask, cut yourself an 8-inch piece of elastic times 2. Get one of these little hooky devices here that, can I get it in the camera and so you can actually see it? Get one of these hooks, and you pass the hook through the channel or the tube. You hook your elastic and you pull it through. Not all the way out, obviously, but you pull it through so that you've got that. Now, if you need to make this for somebody smaller, you can make the knot smaller. If you need to make it for somebody bigger, you could make a 10-inch piece of elastic, whichever. And then just put a very soft knot into that so that it can be adjusted by the wearer when they first put it on. So put the pokey tool or the tube turner through the hole, hook the elastic and drag it through the channel you made. I think 8 is probably too short. I would go ahead and amend that, guys, and cut yourself 2 10-inch pieces of elastic, rather too long than too short. You now have a completed face mask. On this side, you've got your welt pocket, your hole, and you can put a piece of tissue into that to give you a third layer of protection, a piece of t-shirting, another piece of fabric, anything you want. And also through the same hole, you then just feed your wire in through there. Your nose wire goes into there, and that molds to your face. And that is that. The only difference between the two types of mask at this point is how I feed the elastic. So this is absolutely purely a personal choice. I found wearing the bandana style mask with the 2 ear loops not fitting as well as I liked. So I experimented with the placement and how the wires worked, and I found that one single piece of elastic that created a loop across the top of my head and behind my neck was much more effective in keeping it comfortably on my face. And it didn't slide up and it didn't slide down. And I think that's the main reason I did that. So there, I'm going to just quickly show you what I would normally do. Is I'm going to pretend that the mask is completed in exactly the same way, top stitching wise, as the other one. I'm going to pretend there's a seam in here. I'm going to put my stitching in, pretending, and I'm going to do the same on the opposite side with a pin. And then I take a 40, this is a 1/2 meter of elastic, and the only difference is I thread it from the bottom of the mask. I put my tube turner in from the bottom to the top, and I pull one tail through. I then create a loop across the top, and I repeat the exercise. I put my tube turner in from the bottom of the mask or the chin down, and I pull the elastic through. So I've now got what looks like an apron. that would go around the top of your head, and the 2 tails I then tie up in exactly the same way we did the other. And that is how I wear this. So one part goes on the top of the head here, and this goes behind the neck, and that sits. And that, folks, as they say, is that. That is how you make a fabric face mask, a regular face mask. Oops, oh, my elastic was definitely not tightened enough. There's my very nice, well-fitting, so it seals all the way around the nose with your nose wire, because you must push the nose wire, contour it to your nose and your face so that the air doesn't get up and fog up your glasses, and also germs don't go out or come in. And it goes under your chin, which is really good, and it fits snugly all the way around your face to not allow germs in and out. That is the end of the lesson. So thank you for joining me, but I hope I see you live tomorrow. Either way, this video will get put onto YouTube, and there'll be a link in Headbands for Heroes and on Hesketh Emporium on how to actually sew this up. And so that in case you want to make more when you get home, you can do that. With your fat quarter, you've got a huge amount of fabric left over, so you can definitely make at least 4 probably face masks with this of the regular type, and definitely 2 bandana styles, or a bit of both, you know, one of each. And use scrap sheeting or anything like that for the lining if you don't want to waste really, really lovely fabric for the linings as well. So thank you for joining me, everybody, and keep well and keep safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.